Once, I held the conviction that there existed boundaries one should never transgress. One does not voice doubts about their marriage in the presence of their husband. The boundaries of sisterhood and secrets remain distinctly drawn in your world. One must never extend an invitation into the sanctity of one's relationship, particularly not to someone who shares the very essence of your blood. Yet that was in the past, before a serene weekend escape, before the wine flowed, before the flickering candles, before the instant I caught sight of David and Brooke nestled a tad too intimately on that weathered wooden bench, laughing in a manner that felt perilous. This is not the tale I ever envisioned sharing. Not in the capacity of a wife, not in the capacity of a sister, not as one who thought she understood her own limits. Yet, when the sensation of invisibility creeps into your marriage, and the one you've always relied upon gazes at your husband with a knowing look that speaks volumes, you find yourself questioning everything. At times, the solutions softly reveal themselves in the quiet moments between sips of wine, on evenings that are forever etched in memory. Allow me to introduce myself. I am known as Laura. I am 35 years of age, and for a decade, I have shared my life with David as his spouse. Once, we were bound together, two souls who found it impossible to spend a single day without yearning for one another. Yet, in recent years, a transformation has occurred. It was not that we clashed. It wasn't that our love was absent. The stillness enveloped everything, the sort that silently enters a space and lingers on. We ceased to astonish one another, ceased to pay attention as intently, ceased to observe. It was at that moment that Brooke arrived for a visit. My little sister, 5 years less, fivefold in courage. Brooke has consistently been the vibrant energy in every space, unrestrained, captivating, brimming with vitality. She enters the room with an air of confidence, as if it were her rightful domain, and she was always granted that allowance by others. From the very first moment, David felt an undeniable connection to her. I observed that, not in an intimidating manner. Initially, that was not the case. Her suggestion of a weekend retreat at a rental cabin by the lake seemed like the ideal opportunity. A fresh beginning, a breath of fresh air. Yet, deep within, a notion had begun to unfurl, a soft murmur. What if this transformed everything? I found myself torn between the desire to salvage my marriage and the urge to break free from it. Yet, I was acutely aware that I longed to experience emotion once more. And Brooke stirred emotions in others. The concept unfolded gradually, revealing itself piece by piece. It began as if it were a jest, something Brooke would utter with a playful glint in her eye and a chuckle. Yet, the longer I observed her in David's presence, the more that thought persisted in my mind. She moved with an ease that seemed almost magical. In the moments of my uncertainty, she moved with grace. In the space where I lingered, she became an undeniable presence. And David, he observed, he made an effort to conceal it naturally. He exhibited a constant vigilance, coupled with an unwavering politeness. Yet, I sensed it in the gentle way his gaze warmed as she spoke. He listened to her with an attention reminiscent of what I once knew. Did jealousy creep into my heart? Indeed, yet it unfolded differently than I had anticipated. It transcended the mere existence of David. The focus was on me, reflecting on the woman I once was, prior to motherhood, prior to the monotony of daily life, prior to the moment I ceased to feel like someone deserving of admiration. The idea of inviting her into our relationship, of witnessing the potential that could arise, filled me with trepidation, and filled me with excitement. I found myself torn between the desire to emulate Brooke and the yearning to be by her side. Yet, I was acutely aware of one undeniable truth. If I failed to take action swiftly, I risked losing both of them forever. And somehow, the notion of sharing seemed less daunting than the fear of fading away. It was after dinner, on the second evening of the journey. David and I found ourselves on the back porch, enveloped by the gentle whispers of the wind as it danced through the trees. Brooke busied herself indoors, tidying the dishes, perpetually ready to lend a hand, perpetually in motion. I faced him, my voice softer than it typically was. Have you ever considered welcoming another into the fold? David cast his gaze in my direction, neither perplexed nor enraged. Simply remain still. I interjected swiftly, not as a substitute, simply, something unique. It is a choice we make in unison. He regarded me thoughtfully before asking, "Who could that possibly be?" For a moment I paused. In that moment, I uttered the words, "Brooke." He blinked slowly, as if awakening from a deep reverie. At one moment, then averted their gaze. "I have faith in her," I added. "She is part of our family. She possesses a remarkable openness of mind. It transcends mere physicality, truly. It revolves around the experience of rekindling emotions once more." David refrained from uttering a refusal. Instead, he extended his hand toward mine. "Only if you are certain." As dawn broke, I found myself in conversation with Brooke. I anticipated surprise, perhaps even amusement. Yet, she reclined, a smile gracing her lips, and remarked, "I'm taken aback that you inquired, Laura. Yet, it is not for lack of contemplation." Our conversation stretched on for hours. Establish limits, take your time, free from anticipation, merely a matter of curiosity, and the bond that ties us together. That night, we reached a consensus. We would allow the evening to unfold organically. The evening commenced with simplicity, a medley of grilled vegetables, a hearty pasta dish, and a cherished bottle of red wine we had been reserving for months. A meal designed to evoke a sense of ease and familiarity. Yet that night, nothing seemed to come easily. Brooke slipped into a cozy off-shoulder sweater, her hair still damp from the shower, casually gathered in a loose tie. Her laughter danced in the air, more frequent than before, as her fingers brushed against my arm and then David's. She poured the wine with a deliberate grace that left me momentarily breathless. The candlelight danced gently, creating shadows that enveloped the surroundings in a tender embrace. More lenient, further achievable. In a fleeting moment, she extended her arm over David to seize the salt. Her fingers grazed his shoulder. He remained unyielding. In that moment, his gaze turned toward me, innocent, merely exploring. I maintained his gaze for a moment that stretched just a heartbeat longer than customary. In response, I gave a slight nod, nuanced. Silence. Yet that is sufficient. Brooke reclined, a smile gracing her lips, as though she had witnessed it as well. Our conversation skirted around the plan. No script existed, only wine, melodies, and the gradual wearing away of barriers. David shared a jest about a game from our college days. Brooke chuckled, her head thrown back in delight, and once more, she reached for his hand, allowing her touch to linger a moment longer. The warmth in my chest had transformed, shedding its cloak of fear. It was truly extraordinary. Yearning, "May I have your permission?" Uncertainty clouded my mind, leaving me questioning the very source of my jealousy. David, for the gentle caress of emotion. Brooke, for the gentle touch. Or perhaps it is I, who observes and experiences everything, refusing to turn away. The plates have been removed, the wine bottle almost devoid of its contents. The night had draped itself in a cloak of stillness, enveloping the world outside. Within the space, only a handful of gentle lamps glowed, projecting warm circles onto the ground, reminiscent of spotlights in an impromptu performance. The three of us meandered into the living room. David decanted the remnants of the wine. Brooke gently turned down the music's volume. I perched on the brink of the couch, acutely conscious of the rhythm of my own breath. A heavy silence lingered in the air, stretching on for what felt like an eternity. Brooke then faced me, her voice a whisper, her gaze unwavering. "Is that truly the case?" Her inquiry came as no shock to me, yet it continued to make my heart race. Our eyes locked. Then it was David's turn. Both of them stood in anticipation. I inclined my head in agreement, with a lack of enthusiasm. However, it is evident. Brooke's gaze grew tender. She extended her hand toward David, then drew closer. The kiss unfolded slowly, deliberately, nothing akin to the hurried fervor portrayed in films. It stood as both inquiry and resolution simultaneously. It was her subtle declaration, "I acknowledge your presence. I embrace this." David remained steadfast, refusing to retreat. Yet, in that moment, he turned his gaze toward me, his eyes probing mine, silently inquiring once more. I let it unfold without intervention. I remained unyielding. I held back my tears. I experienced it all. The warmth that ignites within my heart, the trepidation, the allure, and there was something profound, a spark of vitality I hadn't experienced in years. I found myself detached from the present moment. I was involved in it, perched upon the precipice, resolute in my stance. I refused to retreat. I rose to my feet. It wasn't by design. As the room transformed, a quiet affirmation within me had already whispered its consent. I ambled over with a deliberate pace. David was the first to catch sight of me. His gaze deepened, not with fear, but with a sense of familiarity. Brooke leaned in closer. Her fingers glided delicately along his forearm, then moved softly to his chest. She moved with a leisurely grace, unhurried by the demands of time. She was deciphering him. David exhaled slowly. His hand ascended into her hair. He drew her near, not with haste, but with complete intention. Once more, their lips met in a tender kiss, this moment more profound. Her fingers danced at the nape of his neck. His hand pressed confidently against her lower back. And what about me? I remained present, continuing to observe, yet no longer from the periphery. I moved in closer, gently grasping David's unoccupied hand. He grasped it firmly, with deep appreciation. It felt as though I was the steadfast presence that tethered him to the here and now. Brooke shifted ever so slightly in my direction, her breath a gentle warmth, her eyes wide and inviting. I extended my hand, gently resting it on her shoulder, then tucking a wayward strand of hair behind her ear. She remained unyielding. She embraced it fully. It was not chaos. It lacked any sense of wildness. It was revealing itself, with purpose, with intensity. With each inhalation, we ventured further into an abyss that defied definition. Silence enveloped the moment, yet we were all aware this had transcended mere curiosity. This was longing, and none among us were feigning any illusions to the contrary. Awakening, I found myself enveloped in a profound stillness. Silence reigns, devoid of the sweet melodies of birdsong. Silence reigns, devoid of any footsteps. The gentle tick-tock of the aged kitchen clock resonates softly, echoing from somewhere beyond the confines of the walls. David lay beside me, lost in slumber, his breath a steady rhythm. With a quiet grace, I emerged from beneath the blanket, my bare feet whispering against the cool floor as I made my way to the kitchen. The chill of the floor was more pronounced than ever before. I proceeded with deliberate slowness, a hush enveloping the room as I filled the coffee pot, a ritual I had performed countless times in the past. Yet this morning, my hands quivered ever so slightly. Last night unfolded in disjointed pieces, the elixir of the vine, the kiss, the warmth of Brooke's fingers gliding softly over my own, David's gaze intensely fixed on me, while his hand brushed against her. What was its significance? What actions had we taken? The coffee machine let out a soft hiss, shattering the stillness of the room. David stood in the doorway, his hair in disarray, his expression a mystery. He rested against the frame, his gaze fixed on me as I filled 2 cups. "Are you all right?" he inquired, his tone gentle. I inclined my head in acknowledgement. I then shook my head.
"I'm uncertain."
He advanced, reaching for one of the mugs. "I never anticipated feeling this deeply," he confessed, his gaze drifting away from me. I gazed into the depths of the dark liquid swirling within my cup. "I never anticipated experiencing anything," I murmured. Yet now all seems transformed. Just as he was about to respond, the sound of footsteps reached our ears. Brooke, she entered with her characteristic grace, clad in a robe, her hair still glistening from the shower. "Good morning," she exclaimed cheerfully, reaching for a mug. "The aroma is simply delightful." Her voice lacked substance. There is an absence of tension, only warmth, as though the events of last night were merely another tale waiting to be told. She maintained her composure, as if nothing had shifted in the world around her. Yet I had. David possessed. The gaze he cast upon me, filled with curiosity, caution, and a hint of uncertainty, revealed that we had traversed a threshold that could never be undone. We gathered around the table, 3 individuals, identical forms, yet everything felt foreign. Not the stillness, not the coffee. It wasn't merely the way I grasped the mug, but rather the subtle tightening of my fingers around it. That night has played in my mind 100 times over, not due to any sense of regret. Yet, I find myself in the midst of an ongoing quest for comprehension. It possessed a certain authenticity, something unrefined. In a fleeting instant, we exposed our innermost selves, our anxieties, our desires, our yearning to truly experience life once more. And in that moment, we truly beheld one another, not merely as roles, wife, husband, sister, but as individuals, imperfect, intrigued, humankind. What truly caught me off guard was that, what depth of love can coexist with uncertainty? How could tenderness emerge in a moment so peculiar? Yet, the mere existence of something does not guarantee its permanence. Since that moment, our words have remained unspoken. Without delving into specifics, perhaps that is for the greater good. We have progressed beyond that point, not in reverse, not ahead, simply in another way. Though I harbor no regrets about my affirmative response that evening, I am acutely aware that I would not utter those words again. Certain experiences are destined to rouse your senses, to awaken your spirit, to serve as a reminder of your existence, yet not to accompany you to your abode. There are certain things, certain emotions, that reside in the realm between potential and limitation. They dwell in the silence that lingers between heartbeats, at the precipice of a gaze, in the pause that lingers just before lips meet, and at times, it's best to leave them be. Have you ever ventured into a realm you believed you were prepared for, only to discover you weren't? Perhaps it began with a sense of wonder, a soft murmur, a hushed longing to experience emotion once more, and before you realized it, you found yourself in a place you never envisioned, with your heart fully exposed, and no guide to lead you home. If this tale resonated with you on a profound level, I encourage you to express your reflections in the comments below. Be it your journey, your inquiries, or that moment that caused you to reflect and feel deeply, we are eager to listen. Each day, we unveil a fresh narrative, authentic narratives that resonate, unfiltered, and sincere. For there are moments when the realities we inhabit remain unvoiced, lingering in silence. At times, the tales we hold within unfold their truths in the shadows. Join us on this journey, and together we will continue to explore these narratives,